So today we'll do some complex searches, or instead of calling it complex, let's just say that we're going to apply the operators we've learned so far and see if we can solve some real problems in findings or doing searches. So we have a lot of examples in the slides that you're looking at, or the ones that you also have a copy of. The only thing is that some of these queries are old, they are not in tune with any changes are happening on the Google side. So there's always some surprises here and there. And we can always, look at some alternatives or build some new queries. But to get a sense of, or to get an idea of what could really be useful for you, I'm going to refer to the book, and just for you all to get oriented a little bit on how the book is set, so that we can see some of the options on the type of searches or related to a certain type of situations. We're going to scroll through this one. It is a table of content, and let me make it 100% visible. So in this one, and view as a single page. Yeah, there are some other advanced operators. Some we did already. There was one that we were supposed to do that was about link colon. I think that was the one that's left out. I have that marked here. And then there was date ranges also. So let's play those inside of those complex searches so that we don't have to look at them individually. So date search, and then we're going to do the links. Okay. So let me try to do the links. And I remember I had that set up for you to. Anyway, sticking to where we are and what we needed to do with the table of content. So you could see, if I scroll down, you could see starting from chapter 14, it is talking about finding names, or finding people, finding person, their contacts, their telephone, job opportunities, resumes, and so on. Then we've got searches related to business and industry, like your competitors, products, services, etc. We've got properties that you can search for, search in articles, blogs, groups, forums, etc. So what we could do is just start picking up some of the examples from all these different topics. And now, don't think that we'll get done after we are finished with complex search, because module 2 is got a couple of dimensions to it. Like, there could be, you can assume that these are the different sections rather. So while we are doing chapters, there are these areas which we call, well, they are non-query related. They have more to do with where to find the information, how to plan your research, some of the basics of how you're going to dis uh, differentiate between the type of information and so on. So that's going to be the second section that's will follow after this complex search. And when we get done with that, then we'll move on to another section, which is the third and the last one we called traditional research techniques and practices, which is what is required for anyone getting into the profession as a researcher, or doing it as a professional research so that they can stick to or at least get acquainted with the practices of doing research work. The roots of doing research obviously goes way back, and it's like hundreds of years ago where things started to shape up. 17th century was when something started to get formalized, and then 18th century and so on. Anyway, it evolved, and the traditional research methods and methodologies and philosophies, they were put together so that it can appear as a full-time or as an occupation for someone to do purely research work. And that included, sampling techniques, doing surveys, collection of info, and the type of info, how to differentiate. Now we've got analytics at a very advanced level, which is where we are with, using, or I guess transforming that information in a more systematic and methodical way. So that will be included in the traditional research methods. Right now, I would be starting with, and I've given you a menu of what you want to get started with in the first place. Like you could see that we have, oh, scroll down way too much. We've got Anna, she's just joined us now. So it's five of us. Um, we get into independent research. Anyway, so we could do people searches, and we could do business searches, we could do real estate resumes, whatever your choice might be. But what if I don't, if you want me to cover as I please, then I'll start with chapter 14, which is find names, emails, contact, telephone opportunities, and so on. Now, one thing about, where is my incognito? About the operator link. Let's get that thing sorted out. I'll just do link. Link is when you are trying to find all kinds of links from the search by making it look for or skim through all the index pages um, to find something that has as a text, not necessarily as a link, even though it says link, but we can even use text to find that information after the colon sign. It takes both the link colon takes both the textual content or the text as well as the domain name. So if, again, my easiest example, and I just keep using my own website. So once again, I'll use AOFIRS.org and look for information. Now, in the links, let me show you something that is queried with the link operators that may have AOFIRS.org domain in it, but it may not. It could be part of the entire, the whole URL may contain these AOFIRS as wordings, but it may not be the root or the domain itself which is queried, or which is where that link is taking us directly to our site, but it could be a mention of our site. For instance, if it was, let's say, another company called abc.com. Wow. If it is abc.com, as an example, it may have a link to, say, articles, may have something to do with technology, and it may have something that has a of IRS Um, so you could see that there is this URL. That means that with this URL, you are not actually going to be visiting the AOFIRS or AOFIRS.org. That's not where it's taking you. What it has done is that if you read through it, you would notice that it is actually the it is actually a title called Deep Web that is sitting in a folder or anything that is keeping the pages coming from aofirs.org site and has a topic on deep web, but actually it is presented on a domain or a website that belongs to abc.com. So when you do link colon and you do A of IRS, what this would do is find the link which contains these words but may not be part of this domain or may not be part of AOFIRS. Okay. Um, so if I have AOFIRS, it is going to look for and match these words and bring this link. So if there is a mention of anything that is coming from our site and it includes the words AOFIRS, it's going to pick that up. But if I do link A of irs.org, more than likely it is going to pick up links. So let me just settle these properly. Cut this, paste it here. And I'm not going to use .org over here, just not to confuse you. So let's say this is how it is. And if I did a search this way with .org, more than likely I will find link that is coming from AOFIRS / let's say articles. But it does not mean that AOFIRS will not bring this link. Okay. What it means is that it will bring these two links. But if I'm doing aofirs.org, it's only going to bring me this link. So I get more results if I put it as a word. Okay. Anyway, I did link aofirs.org and picked up about 5,740 links. Some of these links would have a mention of aofirs.org, as in this one, for example. And if you look at the URL, it is not coming from my own domain, but there is a mention of, or there might be a link on a page which is mentioned or has a title Education Archives. So if I click on this, there would be on this page a link where, see, you can read a little bit. It says original article link. So it just goes everywhere to look for those words, match it with the links that may not necessarily be tied up to the site itself or the domain itself, but it may be the links that are mentioned or has the words but used on by third party somewhere. So if I have to check on something to do with plagiarism, IP protection thing, if someone else is using my work, or if I have to look for, how many links Google has picked up or Google has recognized for SEO reasons. I would be able to collect it through using link aofirs.org or link aofirs only. So if I put just aofirs, I'll also get the results, but the numbers would be different. See? So 11,000 results. So either way, you will be able to get a lot of links that mentions the word AOFIRS. One thing you must remember is that when you're using a command such as link, you cannot make it into a long query by adding more operators. Like link wouldn't work with or, link wouldn't work. Like this is absolute command, which means you cannot add anything next to it as an option or for you to, put in any any sort of operators. It just works in isolation. So link you cannot use with anything else. Similarly, if you were using related, you cannot use it with anything else. Remember, we did related CNN.com. You cannot use it with any other operation. And I think we also did source, and I showed you how source is used. Even with the source, you cannot apply any other operator. So these are some that would not allow or would not give a space to um, interoperate with other operators. Okay, so let's do some examples here. Um, the different ways of finding things like emails, for instance. These are the examples. I mean, we have got like 460 some odd search queries that you can practice with. And I won't know which ones to pick because each one of them has a way to how it is set depending on what situation is dictated or what is given to you as an explanation right under it. So basically, once you read what is said in here, that explains how, why, and for what or what objective we have put this email, this search query together, you won't know exactly. So, you may want to read what is down here. But of course, just by looking at, we can tell what they're trying to do. So in the first one, as you could see, we are trying to find the name Jonathan Schreiber, and we are looking for email address, and we want to enforce it by adding a symbol with at notation, which is part of the email, and then we have used around 10. So if I take this query and show you here, now in this query, we have used around 10. Could we have done it first of all, if is this something that you have a question for? So around 10 means that I mean we could run the same query for finding the email addresses in several different ways. One of the ways is that we have used around 10. So why have we used around 10? First of all, around is approximation. So the number 10 in between, which signifies the number of words that exist between the name and the email as a word, and at as another notation. We could actually use the approximation to see if the name is somewhere around. And it is when we have difficult situations, we have much less information to go and find email address for Jonathan Schreiber. So we've used around 10. We could also try it. Let's try it and see if we can run it with building few options or optional uh, query formations. Let's run it as is at first to see what it's doing. So with this, I mean, Google keeps changing the format of how certs are delivered. So, don't look at the anything that is confusion, causing confusion. Just look at where the results are written through these snippets. So if it is Jonathan Schreiber, TechCrunch, perhaps we would have to go and look it up to see if we can find something to do with Jonathan Schreiber in TechCrunch. What does it say? So you've got the add sign, which is a mandatory return since we have put it within the quotes. Um, so Jonathan Schreiber is appearing in several of these because I'm sure he's a writer and he's a regular contributor. So we went to this one. Now notice that when the word Jonathan Schreiber is used alongside around 10, it is not appearing anywhere. mm, let's see. With Jonathan is appearing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, and nothing that is in the description is showing up. So it does not mean that the around 10 is not working. It is actually working, but you will find these um, words in between to be 10 or less when you go on the page itself. So in a way, when you found something already and you thought it's not showing up in this part, doesn't mean it won't exist or it doesn't exist there. Okay. So in this one, see the word email, it has less than 10 words in between the name Jonathan Schreiber. So this was pulled up. But the main idea is, I guess, is can we create the same search by using some or structuring the search slightly differently? What could be some of the other ways to do it? If I don't use around, just use it simple. If I need to find if Jonathan Schreiber has a Yahoo email or something to do with Yahoo, I could put it like this. But there is an error which I don't know if you're noticing. Even though at yahoo.com as a search term is totally fine, but there is an error in how I am putting it. See, at yahoo.com together does not require the quotation marks because it is all one search term, no gaps in between at Yahoo and .com. So I can even do it without the quotation marks. But the convention is, and if you recall, that it is going to resolve this part first, then it is going to get attached to email or Jonathan Schreiber, but not as a search term or a search phrase, but as if it is to exist, or either of these has to exist alongside or somewhere where they can all the search can also find email and Jonathan Schreiber. So if I have to run the query to find something which is a personal email address, I would probably do it this way. So let's try it and see what happens. Provided if Jonathan Schreiber has Yahoo or Gmail account. It's there. He's got a, you know, may not have Yahoo, but has a Gmail account somewhere. So if we click on this, we can get to it. Then the other example, sometimes I don't know if I should get that far, but when you're doing a search as an investigator, or you're doing skip tracing, uh, you're not sure if there is, I mean, if you have no clue about what email address the person has, or the subject that you're looking for, perhaps you may want to, and you know that it's not very easy to get exact name with the extension of Yahoo, like especially in the public domain of these emails. It's hard to get exactly what you need. So, you do abbreviate your names, you do create pseudonames of sorts. So there could be a situation and that's what is shown in the second example. It is showing different ways in which the email address of Donna Mullen, if I want to find, could exist as D Mullen or DONNAM with the last initials, but the first full name. So there could be so many combinations, and it's very hard to get to it. But anyway, what I would be pointing to is a software. It's called Email Permutator Tool. But if you just use the words email permutator, you should get a lot of free tools that you can use. As an example, in this one, you could put the first name and the last name and any other middle initials or whatever you can, or the nicknames, and then look for the combinations for people with these two names, first and the last, to exist with yahoo.com, or it should have an extension such as yahoo.com. So you can make this selection and hit permutator. When you do that, you get a lot of results that would give you some indication or give you some sort of help in figuring out the possibilities or combinations of or pseudonames that can exist for someone with first name and the last name, such as Naveed Mansoor. So when I did that, I was able to get to my email address which it found, and it was naveedm@yahoo.com. And so, if you have no choice but to look for different combinations and then test each one of these out, you could perhaps use the email permutator. And this is what this is trying to show you, is saying that this is what I found as possible names that would exist with at yahoo.com or gmail.com. Now, with the second query, I would think that you may want to know that there is, where we have used at yahoo.com, we have also used at gmail.com, but we did not put an or operator, and we did not put at yahoo.com within quotation marks, as if we are forcing the at Yahoo and at Gmail to exist alongside these optional names, or possibility of finding email that belong to any of these possible names. So it was by design or by intention that we did not put both of these within quotes or put an or sign in between. So when I don't put the or sign, let's suppose I create another one, which is, let's call it 3.1 for comparison. Let's suppose I wrote something like this versus I wrote something like this. So between 3.1 and 3.2, what would you think is a better option, or what could be the shortcomings or advantages, disadvantages of writing my query this way? What I will recommend, and I think it does work, hopefully it will work in your case also, since you're four, I guess five of you there, and all of us can reach out to one another with the mic and everything that allows you to communicate. Maybe you want to discuss it amongst yourselves a little bit, give it like 5 minutes, or think of it as a break in between. You can, consult each other and come up with questions, or to prepare some sort of answers for me to get an understanding of how you would interpret it, or what would you respond, uh, primarily to know, between 3.1 and 3.2, why we have done it in three different ways, and later we can talk about advantage or disadvantage. So you want to take those, let's make it like a 15 minutes. So 10 minutes break, you have 5 minutes discussion you can have with each other. And it's not a test of any sort. It is just so that you can start to talk to each other and see what could be the input, or considerations that you understand. So I'm going to take 15 minutes now, and when I come back, then we'll, you know hopefully be able to hear something from any one of you. It's not a problem. Can you talk to each other with the mic? Brooks, you can say hi to
Hello,
Melissa or Admira.
Hello, hello.
hello, hello.
Yeah,
Hi.
there we go.
Loud and clear.
Excellent. So go ahead. I'm not listening. Will be out of the room. I'll see you all in about exact 15 minutes. Hey,
Thank
so
you.
take your time. Just go over it. I'm just shutting my mic and my video for a little bit.
Well, personally, I'd suggest that 3.1 would be the better option, because it would give you more broad results as opposed to the specific domains like Yahoo and gmail.com.
I would agree with you, except that, I mean, yeah, you're right. You're right. However, in this case, I think that the difference will not be so great between the broad and the narrow.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I think
so
with those
it-
combinations of like Donna.Mullen in quotations and Donna M, you know, you're going to get very few results, I think.
yeah, so I mean 3.1 is better, but I said between the better and the second best, there's not much difference.
No, you're right. I think it's a very, very, very good summary.
But sorry, the difference between 3.1 and 3.2 is really the end part, right? The tail part. So yahoo.com or gmail.com versus absolutely like both at Yahoo and at Gmail. So
Yes.
would it potentially 3.1, like when they do the or, they could potentially not find Yahoo or Gmail or drop one? I don't like.
Okay,
I'm
you're
just-
saying that because
Because the
3.1
or
has-
operator is being used in 3.1, whereas in 3.2, they're both in quotation marks. So you have to find.
You'd have to find both, wouldn't you? Yahoo and Gmail on the same page.
Mhm.
Yes. No, I think you're right about the or.
okay, so the or is necessary because then you get both, either or, and then yeah. I must say that my head is swimming with all this.
I agree.
I don't want
Agree.
to appear that I'm in control of the material at all.
No, I mean, I hear you. And that's why these are just such subtle differences. Like,
I'm with you
That's-
there. I'm absolutely with you there.
yeah, that's where I get tripped up because when I think of or, like in 3.1, I'm thinking it's going to look for either
And both, yeah.
and both. Yeah. But then
That's right.
3.2 is absolute, right? Like the quotes are supposed to be.
Well, you know, in the practicality, okay, when we're doing this, we would do both searches.
True enough.
I mean, like, it's not.
It's not one or the other, right?
Yeah, this is not NASA here. We're not sending up a rocket.
Yeah.
Okay, we do, you know, we do broader searches than narrow. I mean, that's what we do already, I suppose, you know, in practical terms. We do broader searches then narrow it down.
Mhm.
Yeah. And hey, just as an aside, the email permutator that he brought up just a few minutes ago, where you basically put in a first name, last name, and then you hit a magic button, and it comes up with, for example, my name. I put in the details, and it came up with 34 different permutations, just for one domain. So you have to provide the domain as well, be it Yahoo, Gmail, Hotmail, or whatever.
Right.
So just with the Gmail, it's given me 34, and it has given me my usual normal email within those results, which is pretty handy. But obviously, if someone puts in a number 1 or a underscore or that kind of thing, it'd throw it out a bit. But yeah, I recommend giving it a go.
Well, I was thinking, you know, I do searches all the time, and you know, they seem pretty easy, but now they seem very difficult.
I'm sure it was just perfectly natural up until a few weeks ago.
I agree. But
Yeah.
just Melissa and Doretha, anything? Do you guys want to add anything?
No, they must be off making coffee.
I'm
Okay.
just gonna grab some soup. Okay, just wait a second.
Yep, I'm gonna go grab a coffee as well. I will see you both shortly.
Okay.
See ya.
I'm back, Anna, if you wanted to talk any more about this. I don't think Brooke is yet.
Well, yeah. So what's your life like? Where are you? Are you in Toronto?
Well, I do live in Toronto. Right now I'm in Pickering though.
Oh, you're in Toronto.
Yeah. Oh, are you okay?
Yeah, no, I'm just got something down my throat.
Are you in Toronto?
I'm in Toronto.
There you go.
Yeah. It's I'm just gonna get some water.
Okay.
So do you have children?
No, no, I do not.
I do. Hasn't got- I have one daughter.
Oh, nice.
She's 50, well, almost 50.
Wow.
Yeah, I told
You
her
don't look old enough to have a 50-year-old.
I'm 71.
Goodness, no way.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Impressive. You take good care of yourself.
Well, actually, I mean, oh. It's just that I've never had any big illnesses,
Okay.
so never had any car accidents, never had big accidents,
Yeah, yeah.
so that helps a lot.
Oh, for sure it does.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a good back, that kind of thing.
Oh, good, good. And does your daughter live close by?
My daughter's in India.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is
I came over in 88
okay.
and my daughter was 14 and she stayed. I'm so sorry.
No, 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 no. Go take care of yourself.
And she stayed back with my mom.
Okay.
And now she's a doctor. She's doing very well.
Oh, great.
And she has a son who's 20, 23, 24.
My goodness, you're a grandmother.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, it's, with WhatsApp and Zoom and all that,
Mhm.
the distance is nothing.
It's so true. Yeah.
I was talking to a friend of mine and she was telling me that, when we're living with someone, we hardly see them.
Yeah.
But if you have Zoom, you've got to be there at the Zoom and you've got to talk for an hour. So that's, that's something.
It's true. It's very true. So does she come visit you much or?
I go there.
Ah,
I go there. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense. When's the
So
last
what,
time?
I'm a retired lawyer
Okay.
and I was actually working in the social service agency for a year.
Okay.
And then they say they terminated me, but they fired me. And the funny thing is, that my former employer called me on Friday.
Oh.
And I was at the dentist. So I said, listen, I'll call you back. I called her back. She said, listen, I'll call you back. And she hasn't called back.
Oh.
And I was telling a friend of mine, this is the kind of chaos that office is like.
Yeah, but I don't think it's unique to that office. I think that happens quite a bit. People are trying to cram things in like 2 minutes, something that really would need 15, 20 minutes. They're trying to cram into 2 minutes. And I think that's just the pace at which life has gotten.
Well, I think it's basically, see, when you're a lawyer, you learn that there has to be a lot of preparation for you to go to court.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, don't do it all at once. Like, don't do, if you can, like, don't do 2 or 3 hours together.
Right.
Do 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour, because it's actually better that way you build. And people don't understand that, you have to really prepare to meet somebody.
Right. You can't cram.
Yeah. There's a lot of preparation that goes into whatever it is that you have to do. And we don't like to think of that.
Right.
I mean, for instance, I'm collecting clothing for homeless men.
Yes.
It sounds easy. You drop the clothes off and I take them away. Oh my God, you wouldn't believe.
Hi again, I'm back.
How
I'm
much-
assuming you've had your break and
We'll
just pulled
pick this up afterwards.
something interesting for you. It's a small video on it's on the date range. So let me just share it with everyone.
Do you want to
I'll
not
put
hear
it in
our
the chat
response?
box. You can copy the link
I don't think. Don't you want to hear our response to the
and
two?
run
options?
it.
I don't
Let
When
think
Brooke
you
come
have
back.
time, you can listen to
Okay.
it.
I'm back.
Don't-
I'm back.
This
I was
is.
enjoying your story, by the way.
Can you hear me all? I'm not sure if you can
I can
hear
hear
me
you.
and see my screen.
We can
Is
hear
it
you.
showing on your side?
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
And you can hear me also, eh?
Yep. I don't know if he can hear us.
Anna, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
I don't think you can hear us.
I
I
don't
can hear
think
you.
so.
I can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. It was my side.
Ah.
I didn't put on the mic.
Volume was all down.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good now. You can, okay, so we're all set. This is a link I sent you. And if you want to, get a little bit extra or quick review of once we get done with the date ranges, you can listen to it. Let me just try it and make sure it's the right one.
Periods. Use words like before and after, followed by a colon sign. In query A, observe how both ranges before and after hold within the same query string. In query B, see how it limits search results after a certain date by simply applying the word after, followed by a colon sign, and declare date of February 10th, 2019. The query example, C, has used the word before and a colon sign, followed by the date, limiting the search to look for pages before March 15, 2021. In observation 3, we like to clarify that the user should not confuse date range operators with number range symbols denoted by the 2 consecutive dots. Remember that a number range deals with numeric value, and it has nothing to do with date ranges or date parameters. Note that the date ranges will accept a certain format of how the dates are written. Even though Google recommends formats such as before, colon sign, and year, the month and day, and with after, colon, year, month, and day, yet it also accepts other date formats as well. The query example lets you notice that
Okay, so this is very short, but it is very valuable to use it as a reference. It is going to give you an idea of how you can formulate the search queries with before and after for date ranges, as well as give you different formations of or ways in which you can apply the date, because date formats vary quite a bit and how they're set with within the URLs or anywhere else that you see on the pages. So to make sure that you're using it correctly, just follow all of these examples. And pretty much this is what I'm supposed to teach you also. So they are actually listed, but just so you can keep it as a reference, I gave you the link for it. Now coming back to the email search. Brooks, you there?
Yes.
Maybe. Okay, good. So what do you say for the queries that I have listed here? The first one versus the number 3 versus 3.1, 3.2. So between 3.1 and 3.2, let's just talk about these two. I have yahoo.com as an option to find either Yahoo email or the Gmail email. So I've, asked the search to find either or find both. In the second one, in the 3.2, I'm asking the search to find both of these, which means that the query might return null result also. There is a possibility. And why is that? It's because both have to be available or to be found on the same page with these variations of 3 different names that could be attached to either of these two Yahoo or Gmail. So if they don't exist or they are not available, then it's not giving any flexibility to the search, and therefore it might just return null results. So in situations like this where I'm not sure which one of these are available, I would just rather use the 3.1 instead of 3.2. 3.2 is stricter, is more strict. So that is why I would do it. And there could be another situation where I am, do you agree with it or not? Brooks, what do you think?
That we did discuss it, and I think that was the group consensus that the OR operator from 3.1 would be preferred over the I guess the
Mhm.
specificity of the quotations in 3.2.
Right. And do you agree with it?
Sorry, what was that?
No, I said, do you agree with it?
The
With
3.
what you said? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Good enough. Now let's try to run another query. First, we do a simple one. So Donna Mullen, I'm trying to find her email address with at yahoo.com or at gmail.com, or wondering if I can find something that says at say could be, let's say if I have to find it in .edu, then what am I going to do? So supposing if I want to find the email for Donna Mullen that ends with .edu, okay, because there could be a possibility to find it as an extension, so that might require for me to have what is the one that say indexed rather in URL, not even in URL. Let's just put .edu .gov .org. Let's see if I can run this, and the term that I would want should have email as a word, or it could have work as contact. And then I put AND. Let me try to run this one. I think it did quite all right. Even though I didn't get a lot of results, but it did do okay. So I've used .edu, .gov, .org. and the word email or contact. Here is one more example of finding somebody whose first name is known, last name is unknown. So let's use a common name, say David. Middle initials, I don't know. Let's just call it Martin, it's the last name. I want email or contact as 2 words to be found anywhere on the page. I can even do in text just to make it stricter, or in text. This means it's going to look at the page, which is the body of text. And I think it'll be like a lot of David Martin. So to make it even better, let's say we use another word, marketing, as a designation. See, I've intentionally put marketing within the quotation marks, and I'll tell you the reason why I'm doing this. Just so that the word contact does not get attached to the word marketing, I want to separate these two words, marketing and sales, as separate from the word contact. And the word contact could be something that is appearing on the page, or the somewhere on the page, and the word email as an option. So both will do. At the same time, let's do this one first, then we will do how to find the addresses for within businesses or in companies. So let's run this one as the last um, sort of query that we'll do with the for the email. Okay, so we've got David, last name Martin, middle initials, or could also have a short name Dave. Chief Financial Officer. Here, the word contact should show up somewhere. So this is someone who passed away. So let's just look at this one. David Martin. What happened here? Asking me to sign in. I'll redo it in incognito. In contact. So there is a word email somewhere here, or a word contact somewhere here. So Control F, contact. The word contact. So I went to the contact page directly. Okay, it chose the word contact for David Now, if I want to also another query. So this is bought a PDF of some sort. Anyway, so it could be somewhere here. If I say Control F, say contact, to have the contact. If I say add, find add. Could be in this document, but on the next page, we don't want PDF, so I'm just going to try to do another one. I don't want cookies. I don't want cookies on my machine. Just going to kill this one. You can just keep watching. This is for you to just look at to get a sense of where I'm taking this. Now I'm going to pull another query that has to do with .edus and this one, for instance. Okay. So one of the ways in which I have written the @ sign, you could see right here, I have written @ to be found as is, as if it is one single notation. And I want it to find Yahoo and Gmail emails, as well as making, and I don't know if Donna Mullen has anything to do with education, or if she's coming from, or she has any information on educational websites, but I have now written the @ sign in the second instance, where I used the asterisk as the actual address or the domain of the educational institution, which has an extension .edu. So this could be another way of how you can discover something for which you don't know, but you know exactly the name of the institution or the domain name of the institution, but you know that it ends with edu. So to replace something that you don't know of, we have used the asterisk. It's always a good idea to put the term inside of the quotes when you're using asterisks. It is more controlled. But if this doesn't work, then we lose or get rid of the quotation marks. Anytime your query is not responding, then first thing is to look for the search keywords to make sure they don't contradict each other and somehow they coexist in a natural way. So that is one thing you have to look for. Second is that whenever you're putting certain terms within quotation, it sort of tightens the search enough that it might not respond as you expected. So you would want to start to remove words from the quotation or quoted search phrases. So that is the second approach. So for now, let's just use this one as a sample and see what it does for us. Cognito. So I've used asterisks here, and I've used another instance over here. So she does have an email address with gmail.com, yahoo.com, as well as, and then @ is also showing up. Let's see if it has anything to do with .edu, because it's an option, so it may or may not be here. But I will try to see if it can find something that says this .edu. Sometimes if you go to the page and you don't find edu, first of all, look at the search. It is giving it as an option. So what if I just remove the option totally and I just put @.edu, even get rid of these two? So to be more specific, let's see what it's going to do now. So all of these are a must find, with the missing part that is shown with the asterisk. So let me see.
Is there a reason why you're specifically adding the .edu domain?
No, it's just to give you, to demonstrate that this is another way that we can actually put in the query with the extension of .edu. It's just to, no other reason except to let you know that this is, like, you can even do .gov, right?
Right.
So
Okay.
there could be,
yeah.
yeah. So, the asterisk is what you have to put in. Like, you can't put in @ and then edu, right? Because this would change the way in which the real domains are mentioned in the email address. So if I did not put anything after @ as, let's say, UIT, University of whatever, let's say, if I don't put the domain like this, then the likelihood is that the edu will not be sufficient, or it won't bring you any results. Like, without it, you won't be able to find anything unless you put an asterisk for the term that you don't know of, but you know that it has an extension which is usually to do with the educational institutions, and everything would be covered, or all of these domains would be covered by this asterisk, which is asking it to find now or anything and everything that has an address that belongs to the educational institutions. So that's why it's going to have to be written the way you're looking at right now. So this is the idea. Okay. So if I wanted to write it like this, it's not going to work. Okay. Otherwise, it will think of this as an incomplete email address. Unless I had something like this, which says that it is now an extension of an email, or the address or the source of the address. So if it is not got any extension like .com or anything else, it's not going to work. The only way it will simulate and think of as if it is the domain, which is what is followed after @, as you know, from where the address is coming or whoever has allocated that email address. So I could easily write .com or edu. So that's why I'm using it. And open this. Let's try mining. Okay. Naveed, don't have a middle name. .org. Maybe I'll put the word email. As an option. Got 8 results. It's giving me the email address. I can even use oh, so let's use this one. If you have to find someone's email addresses from 2 different websites, let's say, how would you write it? In fact, I would correct this 8 to make it more specific. Okay. Where I've mentioned site colon asterisk extension.gov, I might just end up writing it like this, so that the .edu as an option is only found in comparison to or along with the site restriction, where both types of sites are compared, or where I would not put the site operator along with the OR that I have used. Then what OR will do is it's going to restrict this part to belong to a site which is an extension of .gov, but may treat this as something to be found anywhere in the body of text, and not necessarily it may not be restricted to the site, but it may have a restriction as to finding something in .gov site that may have an address of .edu in it. So to make it site specific, I would compare it or put it as an option so that these two would get resolved as either finding in both of these the rest of the terms that we are looking for, or to find in any of these two of types of websites with the extensions. So if I want to run it, okay, along with this, you could see that again, same name is used. And where you are having a problem with finding something in singular or plurals, uh, you could even write email as singular and emails with an S as a plural. So this could be another option. However, it's not really necessary right now um, to use it singular or plural, because the stemming and lemmatization will happen in this situation, since both of these are not inside of the quotation marks. Uh, but if it was just emails and you didn't put or emails, it'd still be all right, because the search will end up finding singulars and plurals both, even if you take this out. So it is not as necessary. Yeah. Now that I have made some changes, I'm going to try to run it just to see that is it executable. Again, it's the PDF file opening up. A lot of PDFs coming up. Looking for the email address. Maybe I missed it. There's 151 of these. Big document. I'll eventually end up finding it, but let me just make it even Word email. Okay, so now I'm making it even more strict with adding two restrictions in text. On the page, I want something that says email. In URL, which is where the contact us page takes you. If you click on any of the sites that has contact, click on that, you would see at the top that the address is taking you to a contact page. So in URL, this word contact should be there. So I'm going to write, in fact, I can even write in URL as an option to say contact us. But I have to put the or sign here. Now let me try. David Mullen, both sites will work. Okay, so it's not, I don't have David Mullen here. So context corner David Scott. So in the contact form, we have contact form, contact, we've got in URL. And on the page, I should have the word email. So when I go to the page itself, let me see the word email, Control F. The word email. And the name is David, whoever David's last name is. So there could be a lot of results showing up. We've got 10,400 results. If I want to restrict it a little bit, let's just make it David. Clifford is not a good name to use. Williams, Congressman, whatever. So thing is that at the end, there would be a source which is coming from the government. If you want addresses of someone who works in the government departments, you could use it this way. You could even get something to do with David from EDU. So basically that's the objective, is to show you how you can use the site operators to restrict your search from any of these. On the other hand, we could even do in URL. And have to remove asterisks. In URL, you don't have to put the asterisk. In URL is an it is, you know, it is very finicky about the words that you use. So it wouldn't really work with the asterisk. Site will work with asterisk, but in URL will give you trouble. So in URL, if you have something that has the gov or edu, you can also run it exactly with replacing site with in URL. You've got 12,300 results. This one is coming from Harvard University. There is different Davids. David is a very common name, so we get a lot of results. And this is contact us page. You can see that this one is contact us, this one is contact. So it is taking you directly to the page, and then the assumption is that in the text or where the page is going to open up, you would find the word email in it. Okay. Better still, you can even put in text the at mm, let's try this one. Yeah, let's try this one. Hmm. Too many restrictions on in URL. We should remove some of the restrictions for in URL. That's what I think is causing the trouble. In text comment, this should work, hopefully. Where do you think we are making a mistake? David is fine. Looking for David. In URL could be text. Asterisk.edu. Let's try now. How do we solve this? I want to get to the contact us page and look for David in government website as well as in the educational websites. So what is it that is causing this problem? This is correct. I don't see any problem. These two sites, that's where the name David can be. And then I want to compare contact and contact us together. That is correct also. So maybe shortening it a little bit. In text. One more time. Just shortening it just to make sure that I can isolate the problems. What is the problem here?
Sorry, can you
In
please
text,
remind me what
interest.
the asterisk does?
What asterisk does? Asterisk finds the missing part of anything that you don't know spelling of, or you don't know the number of words, or anything that forms a search phrase in between. You don't quite remember the words. You can replace it with putting the asterisk. Asterisk is a wild card. It is didn't we go through asterisk before? If you can recall, did we do it or no?
Possibly, I may have missed that part, I'm afraid.
Yeah, we did that. So this is working. So I'm just going to copy this and compare it with where I went wrong. So this was the version that I was able to work with, or which returned the results, is this. So I started with 9.1. I tried to correct, it didn't work. Then 9.2, I ran and it worked fine. So I think what has happened is that whenever I used asterisk with the in text, as in this one, it didn't work well. And there is no logic, there is no reason for it. There is no reason for it. So whatever, I mean, the only way I can fine tune or maybe correct it is just by removing some of these I guess notations. And then when I get to my search results, I am getting correct results. It is from edu or .gov websites, which is when I replace the in URL with site ** .gov. This is what I did, and this is where I started with, and this part did not work. Now that I know that the trouble causing factor was this asterisk that did not function well when I used it with the @ sign. So even with @.gov would still work, knowing that @ address would have an extension of .gov or .edu. So not necessary for me to put the asterisk, or maybe the asterisk is causing the problem. So I was able to isolate the issue. So if I want to now redo this that did not work previously, let me make some changes from what I've learned by correcting it. So I'm going to retry it. Let's call it A and fix it. I want you to know, when we are doing complex searches and we are doing it for the first time, like I'm creating it for you through my imagination, or through my approach to how I would solve something. So I created this. This is not staged, or this is not coming from something that's tried and tested. And it gives us an opportunity to make corrections where we feel that we made mistakes. So I'm going to get rid of this over here, and this, as I saw, that 9.2 worked fine after getting rid of the asterisk. So first I'll try this one, and I have not changed in URL with site on top. So I'm going to reattempt it, making one change that I showed you. And why is this thing? Why is .edu highlighted in here? Strange. Huh? What's happening? Hmm? Connection to this site is not secure. That's very odd. Let me try another browser. Can you run this on your browser? I don't know why this edu is getting highlighted on this side and it is giving problem running. You see, this is where it is defaulting to your connection. Hello, you there?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, I don't know what's happening. Can you please, one of you,
I'm
try
here.
this one for me? Okay, I am putting it in the chat.
Okay, I'll go to another computer.
Please try this one. Huh? What is happening?
Oh,
Huh? It's very strange. See, first of all, I'm getting this message when I'm running it in the browser.
hmm.
Is Google doing something, or I don't understand exactly what's going on. I just copied this one and I inserted it
Hmm.
in the browser. And notice how it has .edu highlighted. You could see
Mhm.
this one.
Yep.
And when I run it, it's defaulting to edu / for some unknown reason.
Well,
I have absolutely no idea.
try
Let
running
me
it,
try.
try
Hmm.
running it without the edu.
Yeah, let me try that. But let's see if I can do it in the Bing also. If Bing is doing the same thing. Yeah, you're right. Let me try running it without edu. Can you see? You can never tell with Google with things that go on. I don't know what they're doing. They're playing with edu for some reason that it's not doing the job. But anyway, I'm also going to send it in the chat box. Let me try one more time. Even the chat box is acting up, right? Where is the chat box? Okay, now please try this one with .edu there. Now it's running. Now it's running on my machine also. So there it is. It worked well, and it started to bring me results. Therefore, my correction is in A. And the only change I did is I got rid of the asterisk. See right here. That's all I did. And I was able to isolate the problem by reducing the length of my query by substituting some of the operators, as well as changing the formation of how I wrote at over here. So between the two, I figured out that by shortening the query, it becomes easy to troubleshoot it. That's number one. Second thing I did is that I started to remove some of the notations. Notations are always a problem with Google. So remember that whenever you're using notations like asterisk, at, you're using, what else do you use most? You're using, even with quotation marks. These notations usually start to give us trouble. Like hash is used to query into the social media. Most of the social media accounts have handles. Handles means that it has a very peculiar and specific allocated name given, or it gives a sort of an identity to your account. So hashtag, for instance, I have AOFIRS. This is what I got, but on Twitter. So this is my handle on Twitter, and therefore my information is actually connected to the hashtag, uh, continued with the name AOFIRS. So if I have to search for something to do with AOFIRS, I would, make a query by including in the search the hashtag. Instead, where we are using @ we could use hashtags. I could even use, with hashtags, I could use AOFIRS as a word, and this one would be a symbol. So I should be able to find a lot of my information that is to do with social media accounts, because hashtag is a symbol that connects with social media. So just to give you an idea that notation sometimes is a problem. Why? Because this hashtag is also used in other sort of things, like it is used to create tags on websites. So there could be a tag that has a topic to it, a tag which is really a category or something that differentiates or connects with the type of information. Uh, and basically a title is what hashtag is supposed to represent also. So there is always a confusion. And I don't know if you recall, at times Google used to have something called Google Plus, or it was using a plus sign. So that made the search engines get confused also. So as a result, what Google did is that they still use Google Plus, and plus is now a symbol that represents a type of platform that Google offers for social media. But at the same time, they depreciated the plus sign. Before, the plus sign used to be a replacement for AND command. Now that got replaced because these notations and symbols are used in multiple operations as functions, not only in programming sense, but also in how some of those notations are applied, right, in social media. So always that situation. Anyway, we have to revert back to where, we are doing troubleshooting, starting to attempt some queries that we built, and we tested, and there was an error. So this was erroneous, you can call it, and this is the correction. All right. Now you're getting into something which we truly think is complex searches. Or you could say that not just one query that you build is the ultimate one. I mean, you have to keep on correcting it, or keep on improving on it, or keep, fine tuning it, basically. So queries, when you're doing it practically, you will find that even with the concepts that you're clear with, and you think that certain things are going to function per rules, but they don't. And some of them are flaky, some falter in performance. So you have to keep an eye and you have to start to make corrections on your side. And this is what we did with 9, where we attempted to find something by creating a search that is not orchestrated, or it is not something that is coming from the book, but something that we did on our own. And then we found that it didn't work. And then we did the correction. And then we applied the correction in A. I hope makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
I'm not very fond of just using the already rehearsed queries, all the time. That's not how you're going to learn, because when you have something that's tested and been put in the book, pretty much, it is, it's already, it is already going to work as intended. So how would we learn unless we find something that doesn't work and then to make it work? Because that's the real situation. Now, I'm going to see how much I've covered so far, because there's so many areas that complex search would um, require your attention in. So I am going to have to look for or be very specific in finding the ones that I think would be useful. It'll just be my call. So I want to be very careful, because, we can't teach all of them, but, to bring something that is really worth your attention, that's what I'm after. So another thing that we try to find while searching uh, for a subject individual is, besides the email, the other part of the contact is the phone numbers, which is a very premium information. And that sometimes is hard to get to. So there are ways in which we can actually search for phone numbers, right? And this is shown in several examples that you can see in the book. But starting with the one that might be a little tricky. So let's play with the numbers a little bit. Let's take this one. So if you have to look for phone numbers, how would you do that? To find someone's phone. And here I'm going to look at the numbers or the phone numbers and not the words only. So let's suppose we have a query like this one. And remember, context, as much context that you can think of, that you can put in your query, the better it will be, of course. This one is for finding someone named David, last name unknown. Numbers that you're looking for has to be in Toronto. So this is the location, which is a very good reference when you're talking about phone numbers. And then the word telephone you can use. And if you want to look for phone numbers that is toll free, then you can write 1-87, because they're written different ways, 877 800, or they may have a format like this one. Okay. But notice that we didn't have to put any of these within the quotations. We are just making it a little bit of a loose search for the search to actually find any of these formats. And these are all one search terms because there's no gap. So between the three, find anyone in Toronto named David. Easy to get, and we get so many results returned. But let's make it even more complicated. And let's try something. I don't know if you have if we have enough time, but let's at least create some examples, and perhaps I'll put them in your chat box and you can try it on your own. And we'll then look up the results in the next class, just to, or at least for you to give me some feedback. I can even put 905, that area codes we have in Toronto, 647, 416. These are the area codes. This we can look for. I don't know the last name, so we'll just leave it as is. Next thing we could do is we could also put telephone, or even if we don't put the telephone number here, you would still be able to find it. The search engine already has list of area codes of phone numbers or certain numbers that it knows belong to area codes of phone numbers, other numbers. It can be, it would know if they're zip codes. So it has that ability to do it. I'm sure it knows 905-647-416 is in Toronto. We can even get rid of the word Toronto. We can create another one that would be, say, would be zip code. Let's say I just put a zip code. In fact, let me put US zip codes here. That's going to be easier. So 32835. So if I know the zip code and I know the extensions there, that would be
Excuse me,
427, I believe.
excuse
Huh?
me. Uh,
Yes.
would it be possible to type this search into the white pages? Or does it have to be in the Google browser?
No, this is for Google browser. White Pages is a portal which is, that you can, that's a website itself.
Mm-hmm.
So you can search for the numbers. But when you do that, you can only get listed numbers, the ones that are actually offered through the regular lines that are available through,
Okay.
your, yeah, but a lot of people, they choose not to have those listed.
Mm-hmm.
And other times, they would ask you to pay for that info.
Yes.
So let's assume what is 301, and then there is another 427, I believe. So these are the area codes for Orlando.
Mm.
Let me try this. If I can find David, last name unknown, in 32835, area codes 301 and 427. What's going to happen? Another discovery we're after. Now we're going to see what's going to be brought back. But I want to give it a space. I want 32835 to become mandatory. See, unless I do this, somehow these numbers start to attach with each other or start to become like, like groups of words or even search phrases. Had these been words, I'd still have the same problem. So to make it slightly different, when I put these within quotations, literally I'm creating an AND operator here. So that's why I've put the A and D. I'm sorry, that's why I put them within quotation marks. And quotation, I told you, is a mandatory return. So it is like as if it is to be discovered as essential for the results. So I got 32835, which is the zip code, and I guess it is Florida. And telephone number 301-427 would be somewhere. But it is a good idea to put the tel or telephone or those wordings next to it. Why? Because 301-427, even though they are area codes, they could be partial numbers that are picked up. Anyway, let's try it first. Anything that we want to confirm, we should look at the results. So we've got 407 area code, 407. 3 to 1 we got. So yeah, I mean, we can get to the phone numbers even without putting the word telephone or you know, but we can do that too. So if there was a way in which it is written in the content pages, like they sometimes use TEL, other times they might just use telephone, or they might use contact. I don't know, could be any of these combinations. Okay, this would work also. And if I have to separate anyway, let's try this first. So we've got 298,000 results. So now the results are reduced. So these are different ways in which we can write the queries. So let's finish at this point. And if you get a chance, you can, look at the recordings to get an understanding of this one, where we found ourselves in trouble to execute query number 9. And then what we did to resolve it. It's all recorded. Perhaps you may want to follow the same steps I took to get the correction done. So let's just continue. Next lecture, we'll try to find some more ways in which we can, do some searches for resumes, for HR, for other things. So we'll see. Today we could only finish up emails. There's so much there. I wished we had a lot of time to keep doing these queries. There is enough that we can practice with. So I'll see you next time, day after tomorrow. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. If I can answer it right away, I could do it. Otherwise, send me an email and we'll communicate that way. Any questions? Anything else I can help you with today with this topic? Or shall we say goodbye or adios? See you day after.
Bye.
Buenas
Bye.
noches.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for coming. We'll see you. I have something in the chat. Let me see. All right. Great. Thank you all. Bye bye. Take care. All the best. Okay.